Hello, everyone. Thanks for listening. This was an extra special episode for me as I got to interview my dear friend Benjamin Finfrock, also known as Fintastic on the World Wide Web. Ben is an American living in Paris, France, where he is a tattoo artist. He's tattooed Olympians. He's been flown around Europe to tattoo on Olivia Rodrigo and Lady Gaga's concert tours. And he's just a really fun guy. He helps manage an art space and gallery as well in downtown Paris. And he has a lot of thoughts on why it's okay for Christians to get tattoos, his favorite tattoos that he's given, and a bunch of other stuff about enjoying art and living life to the fullest. I hope you enjoy this one. Thanks for listening. Thanks for joining me, Ben. You're coming to me from Paris, is that right?
Yep, from Paris. Excited to be here. Thanks for calling me.
Wow, an American in Paris. They should really make a movie or a show or something about that. Anyway, I told somebody that I was talking to you, and he reminded me that you have a fairly interesting story about coming to faith, how you became a Christian. And I was like, oh, yeah, Ben does. I completely forgot about that since we've been friends for so long. But
Yeah,
remind me
yeah.
and the listeners, how did you become a Christian?
Well, it's probably too long to share everything, but I grew
Sure,
up
sure.
I grew up going to church and just kind of like normal. My parents always took us to church, me and my siblings. But then when I was like 20-ish or so, I'm from the East Coast. When I was 20-ish or so, I took a trip to the West Coast because somebody from one of my parents' contacts had lived out there, and I was interested in visiting because I was kind of like trying to figure out, if I wanted to do something out west maybe. So I took a trip and I was kind of doing some just kind of like exploring, and I found this like volunteer soup kitchen. I ended up meeting this guy, and I ended up talking to this guy who was working at the soup kitchen. We kind of hit it off, and he ended up kind of pulling me aside. We started talking, and we just like had this crazy conversation basically. And he kind of was
Hmm.
explaining. We were talking about volunteering. We were talking about what we believe. We were talking about like religion and Christianity, stuff like that. He kind of had this long conversation with me where he sort of explained all of these like scriptures, and he kind of like explained to me this like, quote unquote red thread through Old Testament, New Testament, like biblical passages that talk about like um, kind of like talking about Jesus Christ and stuff. Anyway, it was this long conversation, and it kind of like made everything that I grew up hearing click
Hmm.
for me. And that was kind of the moment where I feel like I had this like big bang revelation moment, and it kind of like I feel like I kind of like personally came to faith like for myself in that moment. And so this all happened while I was like away from home, and I ended up spending like a couple weeks out there and sort of did a lot of like talking and studying with this guy, and then
Hmm.
basically came back and was like kind of not like a different person, but like had definitely changed a lot of priorities and changed the way that changed the way that I
Yeah,
thought a
yeah,
lot.
yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, I do remember you telling me a bit about that before. But the main reason I wanted to have you on is because you are an artist, a tattoo artist. As long as I've
Mhm.
known you, you've been sketching and doing all sorts of artistic enterprises. So, how did you
Mhm.
end up becoming a tattoo artist in Paris?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I've always liked drawing. I've always goofed off. I was always goofing off, I guess, in drawing when I was supposed to be doing other stuff in school. So I always liked illustrating. And I don't know. I think like at some point, I always kind of explain like I feel like if you're artistic, either maybe you'll discover what specific thing you want to do is, or you'll just kind of be a general craftsman and sort of jack of all trades, and like painting, like drawing, like photography. And I think for me, I was trying to find like one thing that I could like be really good at, because I was getting frustrated that I was like spreading all my resources out so much.
Hmm.
So like early 20s, I was like trying to, I was like, what am I going to do? Digital art or drawing? And I ended up meeting a tattoo artist in 2020. I think it was like pandemic era, and I met somebody who was tattooing who was a neighbor of mine, and I got to know them and started asking them questions. And I think as soon as I heard her explaining tattooing, I became super interested, and I think I realized that this thing that I thought was super cool my whole life, I
Hmm.
finally feel like I had like an in to figure out like, oh, I don't know. It kind of turned from like something that was like high and above, something that was like kind of beyond me, to something that was like, oh, I
Hmm.
could do that.
Yeah.
And yeah, I met her and she agreed to like kind of take me on and teach me some stuff. So that just kind of, it just kind of never stopped from there.
So all kind of self-taught and watching other artists.
Yeah, it was a lot of self-taught. I did a big kind of a combination of like studying under other people and also doing a lot of research myself. That's kind of one of the things that's a little bit more common, I guess, is people are teaching themselves how to do it.
Mm,
And there's obviously a lot of pros and people that have been doing it longer. So you just kind of have to like pool your contacts and yeah, kind of learn that way. That's how I learned anyway. But I've
yeah,
always
yeah.
been a very big self-teaching autodidact. So
Nice.
it was kind of natural for me to just kind of decide I was going to do it and just do it.
And I think you're forgetting as well, sir. Once I was speaking to you and I said, "Have you ever considered doing tattoos?" I think
Yeah.
that was the seed that brought this all about. No.
Yeah, yeah. Well, okay. I don't like. I'm not disagreeing with you, but I like don't really remember when that
I know
was.
you
But
don't remember. I
I'm
had to
sure
get
you
that
did.
moment recorded forever, but I do
Well,
remember
the funny
asking
thing
you.
is yeah. Well, the funny thing is I feel like that's always something I've had people say where like I would draw something or I would doodle something and they'd be like, "Oh, that's cool. Like, can you draw a tattoo for me?" And I'd be like, oh, "Sure. I'll just draw something cool, and if you want to get it tattooed, that's fine."
Yeah,
But
yeah,
yeah, you start like people want you to draw stuff for their book or for like a tattoo design, and now I'm the one doing the tattoos as well.
yeah,
So
yeah.
that's fun.
Yeah, it's been really cool to watch from afar. You develop this skill.
If you want to hear more interesting conversations like this one, please subscribe on your YouTube and follow along wherever you get your podcasts.
One question I like to ask artists is what keeps you inspired and even curious as an artist after all these years of drawing and doing artistic things? What keeps you curious and inspired?
I don't know. I think my answer was just kind of like life itself. I mean, I don't feel like I never feel like I'm a conventional artist. Sometimes I feel like I'm more of a crafts person. Sometimes
Hmm.
I feel like I'm more of a problem solver. So I feel like there's so much like mystique around the word artist, but in terms of creativity, just like life itself, when I'm outside, what I'm seeing, of course, like movies, shows, games that you play, you get inspired. For me, I think like I love animation. I think like
Mm,
even when I was a kid, whenever I saw like hand drawn animation or like cartoons, have always just like illustration in motion, I think. And I think that translates to like the human body. Like I love anatomy. I love studying like how the body moves. I think that that's what animation is so exciting because it's taking something, an illustration, and portraying it, moving in a way that you're creating. But life is that. Riding bikes,
mm,
swimming, running, exercising, picnicking. I just think like life itself. I think is kind of like inspires
yeah.
creativity.
Yeah, and I did want to ask you another question on that note about the human body. But before we jump into that, I know that you have a background as well in teaching, being involved in different Bible schools and kind of Christian discipleship programs.
True.
Let's, start with a question that everyone always asks, right? If you're any
Yeah.
sort of Christian and tattoos are involved, it's, well, doesn't the Bible say we can't have tattoos, right? Like, what does the
Yeah.
Bible actually say about it? Or how have you even thought about this,
Yeah.
biblically?
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I never thought about it. I never once. It was never even a thought in my mind because I think for me it's like just just not a problem. But I guess I never grow up. I didn't grow up in a very strict religious household in a sense. I think like
Hmm.
I grew up being kind of raised more of like Christian morals more so than like Christian doctrine or anything like that. So
Hmm.
for me, I never had a problem with it. But I think the most important thing with tattoos or with anything in your life isn't just tattoos, but it's like you need to be, if you have a conviction, I think that you need to like follow it. I think like we all need to go to bed at the end of you got to put your head down and like
Yeah.
feel good about like what you did that day. And so like if
Hmm.
you have a holdup with tattooing or with piercings, any kind of body modification that's could be you or could be the way you were raised. I'm not going to say, oh, you should ignore it. I think you have to like follow it or do your own homework, you
Mm.
know? But if you're asking me, like theologically or anything like that, like, oh, what's the holdup? I just say you're good. Yeah, it's fine. So there's literally it's
Yeah.
fine. And I mean, I'm not an apologetic type guy when it comes to it. So I'm not really interested in like hashing it out with anybody. But I'll just say
Sure,
like, yeah,
sure, sure.
you're fine.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's right about the importance of conscience and like following your
Right.
own convictions. Even in the New Testament, right? Paul's always talking
Hmm.
about he uses the strong and the weak, but this idea that,
Yeah.
some things are free for us to do, but, if you have a strong conviction otherwise, we should respect that with other people and not cause them to feel bad
Yeah.
about themselves.
Anyway, I don't think people are worried about God. I think people are worried about the number one, like 9 out of 10 people that are getting their first tattoo. The thing that they say right before we touch like needle to skin is, "Oh man, my mom." It's never like, "Oh God." It's never like, "Oh," it's never like, "Lord." Oh, it's always like, "Oh, my mother."
Yeah, that's funny. That's funny.
Yeah.
So sticking in a theological vein for a second, obviously, the Bible has a lot to say about the human body, right? I'm thinking of that verse about offering yourself up as a sacrifice, right? A living
Mhm.
sacrifice, that kind of thing. How has tattooing and being very involved with a lot of people's bodies, right? Like flesh. How has it changed the way you think about the human body? Whether, like you were talking about your love for anatomy and
Mhm.
physiology, do you ever
Yeah.
think about this stuff kind of philosophically, even?
Yeah, I think I did at the beginning more. I think that as it's become something that's like more natural for me, I don't think about it as much. Something about tattooing that I do love though is I I'm a very like I recharge by myself. I'm the one that would rather stay home than go out and do a lot. So kind of like introverted, I suppose. But I always thought it was interesting with tattooing because it's like a kind of very intimate space where you're one on one with somebody,
Hmm.
but at the same time, you have to separate yourself from that and kind of like focus on the work. So it's a
Yeah.
weird combination of like simultaneously very aware of being like close to somebody and also disassociating with them a bit because I have to
Hmm.
focus on the work. So I disappear into the work and at the same time am like checking in with my canvas being like, hey, are you good, like how's that feel, so it's kind of
Yeah.
funny. But I don't know, dude. I think bodies are beautiful. Tall, short, small, large, muscular, soft, firm. Different parts of the body are completely different to work with.
Hmm.
Different people's skin is completely different. Could be their age, could be their hydration, how well they take care of their skin. Some clients need more attention. Some clients you have to pace differently. You can't work the same speed on everybody. Some people's skin reacts. So I think like everybody's has like a different anatomy, a different physiology, the way that it reacts, which is kind of fun. So it's a very active trade. You have to be
Hmm.
very, aside from being paying attention to how you're executing what you're doing, you also have to realize that every canvas is different. It's going to react differently. And you have to constantly be aware of what's happening, not just if your actions are appropriate and you're, fine tuned in terms of like speed and rhythm. You have to be
Hmm.
aware that you're working on somebody that's like alive, living.
Yeah.
That's like kind of cool.
Even then, you've said twice now, right? You've referred to the human body as a canvas. And it is,
And
right? You're a tattoo artist, but yet they're also a living, breathing person. I've often
right.
wondered, like, for someone like you, you're walking around the streets, you're just seeing canvases everywhere. Or is that not something that crosses your
Yeah,
mind?
no, I'm not like scouting out like things to tattoo. But somebody will come in and it'll be like, oh, your skin is like fantastic. Sometimes you're gonna tattoo somebody, and actually sometimes it does feel like it's as easy as like a marker on a whiteboard.
Yeah. Okay.
Um, no, I mean, there's so much more to that question though. Like that's just the that's just like the logistics of tattooing. But then there's like placement on the body, adorning the body, I like to spend
Mm,
a lot of time with where we want it, how we want it, where it will look good, where it will complement their natural physique, the motion of their body.
mm,
Bodies have rhythm, they have flow. So where you place a tattoo, how it's designed, where it could sit, all goes into consideration. So I mean, it's fun. I love working. I mean, working with the body is great in a
yeah.
non-medical sense because I have parents who work in the OR and hospital and stuff, and I'm not like a hospital guy at all. So it's
Mm.
kind of right on the right side of the fence for me to work with people in that way.
But yet you're working with needles every day. No. But no, it is good to get into the nitty gritty stuff about the craft of tattooing, and I wanted to ask you a few questions about that. Many people listening, might have a tattoo, but some might not. So most people only see the finished tattoo. But could you walk us through the process? Someone direct messages you on Instagram with some vague idea. How do you go from receiving that message to them receiving something that's super meaningful to them and permanent?
It depends. Everybody's different. But I think like I'll give two examples. On one side, you have custom, and then on the other side, you have somebody that knows exactly what they want, or they
Mm,
want something that I've already created. So on the custom side, it's kind of what you're describing. Somebody says, "Oh, I want to do this." Somebody will message you with all these ideas, and we try and help people out by simplifying it, saying, "Give me a reference of what you want, send references of styles you like and or the subject matter that you want. Let us know where you want to get it. Send a photo of that part of your body where you're thinking. Let us know approximately what size, and if you have any other like ideas, comments, concerns." And then on top of that, we just get general information of when we can book them or what their availability is or what my availability is. From there, we start the conversation, and sometimes it goes really easy and sometimes it gets hard. I also don't do every style. A lot of
mm,
artists have a specific style. So there's also the question of, am I the artist for you?
mm.
And I a lot of times love when people send me stuff, and they'll be kind of like there's a Venn diagram of like things I've done, things I haven't done, and then can I do this? And so some things I
Yeah,
haven't
yeah,
done I can do, and I'm like, oh, I've been wanting to do this. And then there's things I haven't done where it's like, and it's a kind of above my skill level, and I would rather recommend you somewhere else. So that's kind of the
yeah.
world of custom. It's fun, but it requires a lot of attention, a lot of
Mm,
energy, really working with people, which can
yeah,
sometimes be really smooth and sometimes can get really difficult. And then there's the other side of that whole thing where somebody just wants something. They say, boom, I want this. This is how big I want it. And I say, sweet, these are my availabilities. They say, sweet. They send a deposit, and that's it. And that's awesome. I love when that happens. I
yeah.
burn out more on the design element of the trade than I do of the actual work.
Hmm.
For me, the most like 200 miles an hour, all cylinders burning is when I'm like in design mode. That's what requires a lot of creativity and energy for me.
Okay,
So custom pieces can be really rewarding, but they require more focus.
sure. And yeah, I was interested in what you said there about sometimes your skill level does not match the requirement. And,
Yeah.
with a, quote unquote normal visual artist, you could just draw something and think, ah, made a mistake, like wipe it away. But this is, as you've said, permanent human flesh, the living canvas. How do you actually progress? Like, how did you get better? Like, did you have, did you tattoo yourself? Did you tattoo friends for free and be like, "Hey, I might make a mistake on you. Sorry." Like, how did you actually get better
Yeah.
at this?
So this is the part of the interview where I got to be careful what I say. No, but I'm kidding. I mean, yeah, obviously you there's a lot of ways to practice. I practice on
Okay.
myself. I just like started tattooing my legs and stuff like that to kind of get used to how the machine feels on skin and all that stuff. But I'm really lucky, and I have some of the best friends in the world. I've had known people for, I feel like almost like 10, 15, almost 20 years. And so for me, when I was getting started, by the time like a bunch of my friends and my siblings like heard about it, they were kind of like pushing me to like tattoo them, even with
Yeah.
like little to no experience. And so as responsibly with as much conviction, being led by my conviction, if I felt it was right or wrong, I ended up tattooing a bunch of my friends early on. That kind of got my feet wet. And honestly, to this day, they're terrible. I mean, really, really terrible work. on people, and thank God I didn't like hurt anybody or anything like that. But all in good fun. I mean, I got to cut my teeth on some friends of mine, on myself. I
Mm.
was using there's like plastic silicones you can buy that you can practice on. You can practice on
Okay.
fruit. Maybe
Huh.
that's what people hear a lot online is like you can tattoo banana peels, oranges. There's all kinds of ways you can get used to it. But yeah, you just have no idea what it feels like. It's like if you
Mm.
watch videos of surfing your whole life and you think like, oh yeah, I can go surf, and then you get on the board on the water and you realize how unnatural it actually is. You
Hmm.
just have to keep doing it, repetition, and eventually you just get more comfortable with it, just like anything
Mm.
else. But you have to put a
Sure.
lot of time in, and to
Yeah.
to get good, you have to put even more time in.
So this is why I haven't. You've designed a tattoo that I have, but you have not touched my flesh, Ben. So I've been waiting until now. You're at the
Yeah, that's
place where
true.
you're the
That's
expert.
right.
I'm
Yeah,
ready. So how many
yeah.
tattoos do you think you've given? I know
I
you've
don't
been doing
know.
it for a couple years now, like in the hundreds.
Yeah, for sure. I wonder if I've gotten to 1,000, maybe 1,000.
Okay. Okay. And I know you catalog them, right, to like make a
Yeah.
portfolio. Can you remember like some of the most meaningful tattoos you've ever done for people and why it was meaningful?
Um, Most meaningful. I feel like people ask me that, and I have always like draw a blank. It's like somebody asks you to like name your favorite band.
Mm.
I meaningful tattoos. If a client, I think like it's kind of like you're like you like to speak and you share things, right? You teach. Like, have you ever taught something where like somebody like gets emotional and it has like an impact on them and they like cry? It's like it's like if you made somebody cry like because they were really touched by something you said. So like if you're tattooing and if somebody sees it and they like it doesn't matter what the piece is, but if the reaction of the person is like they're so happy that like it makes them
Mm.
emotional, or they just immediately feel like this was supposed to be here on my body. Like when they see it and
Yeah.
it's like, that's exactly what I had in my mind. Like I always feel like I was supposed to have that there. Like I think those
Mm.
are the most meaningful ones. A lot of people get like parents' signatures. A lot of people want like their grandpa's signature, like in
Okay.
just like random like custom script. So it's little
Yeah.
stuff like that that I think is the most like impactful.
Hmm.
But if it's like stuff that I think is cool, that's kind of a different conversation.
Yeah.
Not
Yeah.
always the
Yeah.
cool stuff that people are like really like emotional about. It's always like my Nona's signature or whatever or something like that.
Mm.
But yeah,
Yeah. And then another thing think it's interesting, the tattoo field is that, like you've said, on the one level, it's super people work. Like you're contacting people, you're drawing
mm,
out like their deepest desires, these deep, meaningful, sentimental things, and you're like touching their body parts and like right up close
mm,
with their flesh. But on the other hand, like you said, you're tuning them out a bit because you have to focus,
yeah,
but you obviously conversed with a lot of people. And what have some of those conversations taught you about maybe the human search for meaning, belonging,
yeah,
identity? Like I heard somebody say they get a tattoo for therapy, right? So there's
yeah,
a sense where the tattoo artist is like a bit of a therapist, you know? Like, so
yeah.
what have some of those conversations, any patterns or anything that you've learned from those?
Yeah. I mean, I guess the most important thing to consider or to like keep in mind, or I guess like maybe the most important thing that I guess like I've learned or maybe realized is that I think people like obviously go to a therapist for like, when they want to talk about their mental health or their relational
Hmm.
health, or emotional health. People will go to a pastor if they want to talk about theological things or spiritual health or stuff like that. And you'll go to a doctor if you want to talk about like physical health and things like that. But that doesn't mean that people aren't having those conversations with like the grocery store worker or their barber or their
Yeah.
basketball coach or the person that their gym trainer or their coworkers. So yeah, tattooing is no different. The people that you get to work with and work on are in that exact same position where people are people and they want to talk about life and they want to talk about
Mm.
stuff. Some people are more forward than others. It'll be like a tattoo, and sometimes I forget that it's like so meaningful for maybe somebody. I'm just like
Mm.
having fun and joking and listening to like whatever like fun music I have, and I'm just like hanging out and just like, yeah, let's do this. This is going to be sweet. And maybe like they actually want to talk about like, oh yeah, like this means
Mm.
a lot to me, and like so like
Yeah.
it's like the YouTube comment section that's like, when I was young, my grandpa always used to talk to me, and this makes me really reminds me of that, and have meaningful conversations. So it's kind of both. Yeah,
Hmm.
people are people. People want to talk about their lives. They want to talk about themselves.
Yeah. That is interesting. And then there seems to be another type of person who gets a tattoo because they like the idea. They saw the design and the flash and they're like, "Oh, I like
Mm.
that. I'm going to get it." Like almost like the super sentimental and like
Yeah.
deep thinking tattoo, and then there's the super casual, well, it was a
Mhm.
Friday night and it was available. Like are they those two very different types of people, or is it more like the more tattoos you get, the more casual tattooing becomes?
Yeah, no, it's just kind of both. Could be the same person, honestly. Um,
Okay.
I'm having a grandpa moment. How to turn off notifications. No, whatever. Sorry. Hopefully, just people stop texting me. Yeah, maybe they're okay. So your question, maybe they're the same person. Maybe they're different people. A lot of people too. It's not just, oh, I want a random tattoo, and I had $50 burning a hole in my pocket.
Yeah.
Um, Not that most people would do tattoos for $50, but like people just want it's aesthetic. It's the
Hmm.
same reason why you would get an earring. You just want the piercing. You want this design here. Like you like how it looks on the hand. Like it's more of a jewelry, I think, kind of. It's ornamental. You know, you're just adorning the space. And you
Okay.
want that design there. So it's not that it's not meaningful. It's just like, yeah, there's different reasons, and a tattoo could be all of the above too. Could
Hmm.
be something beautiful that you wanted in that space that's aesthetically pleasing, and you just happen to have the money for it, and at the same time it is meaningful because it does make you think about this. So
Hmm.
it you can be anywhere within that range of why and how and for what reasons you're getting a tattoo. I think they're all cool. I think your first couple tattoos are usually the most meaningful, like significant. You really think
Yeah.
about them, but then the more you get, the more it's like, yeah, it looks cool, and it made me. I was excited to get it, and maybe that's
Yeah.
it, and that's as good of a reason. That's kind of how I am. Stuff that looks cool now.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask you next. You have a number of tattoos. How many do you have?
I think I
You
have
know,
like 20 something, not a
20
lot,
something.
which isn't a lot.
Okay, still lots of canvas left. But
Loads,
what
yeah. I'm in no rush to fill out or anything like that.
sure. What are some of your most meaningful tattoos?
I recently got a tattoo from an artist that I'd been really like following for years. She was an artist based out of San Francisco. She was from France, but then moved to San Francisco, and she
Hmm.
recently visited. And the reason I got the tattoo is just because I love she tattoos her art. It's things that
Okay.
she's drawn, and I'm just such a big fan of her art. I've always wanted to kind of collect or like wear one of her tattoos for the longest time, and I got to make a make a booking with her on her last trip to Paris, and it was just one of the best. Like it was just one of the best experiences, and it's like just one of my favorite tattoos I have, and it was just like I was so stoked to get it.
Do you also feel like when you get a tattoo from another artist, you're learning a bit about the art yourself?
Yeah, I always secretly just kind of like want to watch them because that's kind of what a lot of tattoo art you'll want to like overstudy or study under, and always like watching how somebody else is working is always helpful. Not
Hmm.
helpful, but it's interesting. You'll kind of see how they work. Everybody works differently at different speeds, what techniques they use maybe, or yeah. I'm always after the information. So whether that's through a conversation or through observation, I'm always like absorbing. So yeah,
Hmm.
I like love watching other people work.
Yes, I know you're a big learner and teacher in many areas, which I've always appreciated about you. Going back to the practicalities of giving tattoos, have you ever turned down a tattoo request that wasn't based on skill level, but you're just like,
Yeah.
no, this is a bad idea? Like, where do you draw the line?
Oh yeah. I like, no offense, but I like can't do mouths. I don't do tongues or like inside lips. I just don't have it. I can't. I think like I don't know. I don't like people's mouths. It really like it's like a
Okay.
ick for me. It just kind of I don't know why. It just kind of grosses me out. I don't want to work in there.
Sure, sure, sure.
Um, you know, so that's like a border for me. And then if it's really a bad idea, I'll help them consider maybe something that's a little bit less obvious or something a little bit less bold. It really depends on the person. Rarely am I going to turn something down just based off of the subject itself. It's who, it's where, and it's how much experience and how much tattoos do they have. I think there was a point when I maybe would have said, like, whatever you want, it's your body, your choice. Obviously, that's true. But at the same time, there are some times when somebody, I feel like, if I feel like they're making a decision that like they might regret, especially if they're really young,
Yeah.
I'll not necessarily just turn them down, but I'll make suggestions and I'll kind of like start a conversation,
Mm.
about why you want this. So it's not like black and white. It's
Sure,
kind
sure,
of
sure.
like, well, let's start talking about it. And sometimes you kind of have to talk somebody off a ledge and kind of explain to them why like this is just going to look bad.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's like that's an ugly design. And then it's a conversation not just about why you want it. It's like, would you be open to? And
Mm.
then that's where we can start problem solving, and my design mind can start to like problem solve a little bit for them. And
Hmm.
if they want it, cool. And if they want to go somewhere else, they totally can.
And I know that you've tattooed in various environments, right? You got your studio that you primarily tattoo at, but you also have been booked at like wedding parties and concert parties and that kind of thing, been flown around. What is your favorite way to tattoo? Like, do you prefer the quiet studio, or do you like the party atmosphere?
I prefer standard. I prefer planned, the regular spot where I can be aware of all the variables. But I will say, doing some of like the rock star tattoo life, where you could get booked to a random event or like a party or a venue, it's a little bit more chaotic. But I will say, there's something really awesome about doing an event where you're just like nonstop taking just like random walk-ins for like 6 hours at night and just like burning it with a couple other friends that are also there working. I mean, it's been some of the most like high stress, high logistics, high variable rate. You have to be ready for anything. But coming out of those events has been some of the most like really made me, I don't know, it's fun. It's really fun to do parties and stuff like that. And I would never like, I'm like not the person that's trying to look for them, but if they come my way, I think like saying yes to that stuff is really rewarding because you'll come out the other end, and not just in one piece, but I think like that's a good way to grow confidence is to kind
Hmm,
of taking some chances and pushing yourself a little bit. Yeah.
sure.
I've grown a lot from doing some things like that, and I've learned a lot as well, like conventions and stuff like that. Why people go to conventions and connect with other artists and do events is because you connect, you grow, and you're pushing your boundaries. And then it's going to make your studio experience so much more relaxed. You're gonna feel even more at home at your studio when you've done it other places as well. Make
Yeah.
you appreciate, have gratitude for your own space.
I know you're also involved with an art gallery in Paris.
Yep.
Um, Can you tell us a bit about the vision behind it, and just what you've learned as well about engaging with all sorts of artists and creatives?
My other hustle, I guess you could say, is yeah, that I help manage an art space. So it's a small gallery. It's kind of like, I don't know the square footage. It's just next to the Musée Louvre in Musée d'Orsay. So it's in a really central spot. And basically, my role there is to kind of just help work the grounds. It's located just next to where my studio is. So I'm always in there setting up for shows, taking down shows, putting up shows, hanging art, talking to the artists. We do a lot of lunches. We do like a lot of events. Like tonight, there's going to be a theater event in the space that I'm going to go help set up. They're going to be doing a
Okay.
performance. It's really just like a art gallery that we rent out for as a venue to a lot of different things.
Okay.
And it's really cool. I think like I do. It's a lot of visual art, of course, but I think what I like about it is I just like helping to manage the space. It's fun to create a space that people can enjoy. Well, kind of similar to like a studio in that sense, I guess.
I've spoken to a couple artists already, and I like to ask people if they would consider themselves a Christian artist.
Yeah,
Why or why not? Like, are you a Christian artist, Ben? A Christian tattoo artist?
I am not a Christian artist, but I think it's a great question. I feel like that's the thing. Like, if you're like a person of a certain faith, you're gonna want to know, yeah, are you like a Christian artist? You know what I think, dude? It's such a political thing to call yourself a Christian artist, isn't it?
What do you mean?
I feel like genuinely, what's the benefit of Christian artists? Because then, say if you are, because say, well, I'm a Christian and I'm an artist. Does that make me a Christian artist? Isn't it just kind of like a marketing? Like, aren't you doing just marketing yourself towards a certain demographic so that they see
Okay,
you a
okay,
certain
yeah.
way? Which is so crazy to me. 'Cause it's like, I don't know. I was thinking about the question and I was like, like, do you think that, do you like if you go to a doctor, do you want a Christian doctor? Do you want like a Christian digital artist to do your Christmas card, or do you want like a Christian plumber to fix your toilet? Or do you just want them to be like know what they're doing? So,
Yeah.
not to get into it. Yeah, no,
No, no.
I'm just an artist, and sometimes I don't always feel like an artist. Sometimes I feel like a craftsperson, or sometimes I feel like a tradesperson. But
Hmm.
yeah, I definitely don't need to put Christian in front of anything that I do.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, not important.
There's that great, I think it's Martin Luther quote where he says, the Christian shoemaker doesn't put little crosses on all the shoes he makes. He just makes really good shoes for the
Yeah,
glory of God.
yeah, it's such an like a non-biblical concept as well.
What do you mean?
It just seems like what is the point? I think like nothing about anything good about, I feel like, Christian doctrine and religion, nothing good about it emphasizes that you need to have like a name tag or a special hat or like a special shirt that you wear when you do things that you do.
Mm.
We do things because we love life and we love people. We do things because we love the things we do and we have passion. We have a joy. We have like a happiness and like a reason,
Hmm.
or like a fire or a desire to do things. It has nothing to do with the tag or the hat. You just do it. So yeah, the whole concept of it is so like weird to think about, like to be labeled as a
Yeah.
Christian. Yeah, not important.
I know a lot of the artists that come into your gallery are Christian believers, right? Is there a
Yeah,
mix, do you think? Like, would some of them be like, I'm
yeah,
a Christian artist, or there's others more
yeah,
like you that are like, yeah, I'm a Christian, but like,
yeah,
what has that
yeah.
been like engaging with those types of people?
All of the above. All of the above. I'm very interested in people, but I'm less interested in people that I'm less interested in labels. So if
Mm.
somebody is like an artist and for them like their faith or their spirituality is part of their art. I think religion or faith aside, you know, a lot of times with a piece of art, the more you explain it, the less valuable it becomes. The more you explain it, the less value it has, or the less meaning it has. I think what makes art, I mean, this is like not a blanket statement, but like I think what makes art powerful is that it is something to everybody, and they get to choose, they get to decide what that is.
Yeah.
So with somebody coming in, if they want to talk about what inspired their work, awesome. I would love to hear it, but I'm not going to ask somebody to like break it down for me. I would rather just kind of stand in front of it and find out, right?
Mm.
Listen to it and find out. So I think that's like for me where art is more powerful is that it's a little ambiguous until you put meaning to it.
Okay.
Obviously,
Yeah.
there's some exceptions because somebody could have like an extremely objective piece, and it's like, nope, this is about justice, and it's very, there's not, sometimes there's just one layer, but I think like all art is multi-layered in some ways.
Mm. Yeah. It reminds me of something Ruthia mentioned to me, another artist I interviewed. She said, like, when you go to an art gallery, like, never ask the person you're with, like, do you like it? Like, that's such a superficial.
That's what I always ask my friends, like for fun, because that's a good way to get the ball rolling though.
Okay, okay. But she said a better question is to ask, like, what does it make you feel? Like, how does it
Yeah,
evoke something in you? Like an encounter with the art.
yeah, no, 100%. I mean, it's not about if you like what, I mean, you have $3,000 in your pocket and you're just going to pick which one you like the more, and you know what I mean. I guess if you want to do that you could, but yeah, of course there's more to art than that. As a joke, me and friends will come by the gallery and we'll just say, okay, which one's your least favorite?
Yeah.
Which one's your most favorite? But those immediate reactions are important. But then you can break down. It's like, why do I have that reaction?
Mm.
Why do I feel this way about it? And then you
Hmm.
can start to talk about the color, the composition, or whatever. You can have your glass of wine and start to feel like you're in a a real art gallery cliche gallerist experience.
Yeah.
Oh, it seems to me it's but that's what's fun. That's
Yeah.
what's fun about it.
Hmm.
And I have a lot of opinions, so
I like what you said about it starts almost with an encounter with the piece, right? And then you break it down. And it seems to me that that is very similar even to theology, right? We might say that all theology is first an encounter with God, and then you're trying to explain it rather
mm,
than, here's a list of every doctrine ever broken down into its various facets and just memorize that and then you're a good Christian. It's like, well, no,
that's a
like
good
you
point.
meet the living God and then afterwards you try to make sense of it and you try to
Mm,
formulate these thoughts. Maybe there's a
yeah.
parallel there.
Yeah, maybe that's what some people get wrong. It depends on what kind of person you are.
Hmm.
I always say like some people really just want to be told what to do, or some people just want to kind of look around them and see what other people are doing, and they're content to just find the path of least resistance.
Yeah.
And then other people are actually like paying attention. There's a self,
Hmm.
there's how self aware are you as an individual? Are you looking to integrate yourself towards growth, or are you just rather kind of trying to maintain? So it
Hmm.
depends what kind of person you are, but especially with art or with life, yeah, dude, I don't know. Are you even paying attention to that? Some
Hmm.
people aren't. That's okay. Some people are really interested in that. Some people maybe too much so. Maybe that's like the self-help ODers that are just kind of getting high off of this concept that they need to like perpetually invest in growth, and they're
Yeah. Yeah.
not even realizing that they're like on a crazy train that's kind of just like going in circles. So
Yeah.
you also got to be careful with that. Sometimes you forget to live.
Hmm. Yeah, sometimes it's healthiest to stop thinking about yourself and doing 100 personality tests and like go
Right.
try to do something for somebody else.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just go acoustic, right? Just go analog, just actually react in the moment, just you, okay? Yeah.
Hmm.
Try that, see what
Yeah.
happens and then go back to the workshop.
So you've been also involved, as I mentioned, in different kind of Christian spaces, different Christian churches, organizations, galleries, things like that. What's your impression of Christian engagement with art? Is there something that you wish you would see more of?
Just get out of church more, I think. Honestly, I feel like you need to take it outside. You need to take it out from the church. I think like to me, like the conversation, like what we were literally just saying, when you're so obsessed with like progression and you're so obsessed of like, oh, is this in tune with my taste? Am I growing? Oh, am I reacting to this? Am I doing what everybody else around me is doing? There's a lot of that, I feel like, in any culture that gets kind of like chasing its tail a bit. So I think the best thing for it is to like take a break, go out, just be with where the other people are. It's easy to get,
Hmm.
we all get like blood, we all get ciders on. If I'm focused on something too much, if I'm really obsessive about one thing, I'll get like a little bit narrow, and it's like I need to go connect with some friends. I need to go, what are my friends doing? I need to take a break. I need to go like see my other friend, talk about that. You have to get out of
Hmm.
your own circle and into another circle. So I don't know. What do I wish I would see is just what I think people get wrong is they just try and stay in one circle. Maybe I think you have to get out of your circle and try something new. Um, it's still going to be there for you when you get back. I feel like maybe sometimes I feel like I don't know. I always say it's just like to put it bluntly. I feel like Christian culture is just too safe.
Hmm.
It's just too safe. Get out of your bubble. Get out of your comfort zone. It's going to be there for you when you get back. I feel like maybe too many times you try and do something maybe like as Christian and like you have one handing on the rail and you're trying to interact with all this stuff, but you can't because you won't let go. Fully let go.
Hmm.
Go have fun. Trust, experience, explore, and then come back if you want later. But I feel like it always feels so conservative. It's like I think
Hmm.
like we need to fully invest in what we're living, what we're doing in life. Fully invest in it. Don't be a Christian artist. Don't be a Christian plumber. Plumb, craft, dance.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? Skate,
Yeah. Yeah.
swim,
Yeah. Yeah.
cook, bake, do it. 100%. And I think that's where living. I think that's where life is at.
That's good. You're giving me a lot to think about. And I think there's a lot of truth there where we think, oh, like I have to do this Christian art as some sort of evangelism. And then you're not
Yeah,
truly exploring what you could be as a creative, as an artist. And
yeah,
one could say you're not reaching your full potential and giving the most glory to God because you're stuck in this box of, you know, trying to do
yeah.
it in a Christian way.
Dude, it's like people working out. They're so obsessed with counting protein, and you can't miss a day, and you can't do that, and you get so crazy. It's like, are you going to be on stage in a month? Are you? Do you have a show? Are you going to be competing?
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
like if you're like a religious person, it's like, are you preaching? Like, are you? Do you have a big conference where you have to like lead thousands? If not, then like go live your. It's okay. Like you don't have to be 100% yeah, you don't have to hold on to it so tightly. It's okay.
relax.
Yeah, just relax.
Nice. I just came back from the gym, so now I'm thinking about what protein I need to get in.
You count your macros, count your micros.
I'm pretty relaxed. Good. So as we come to a close here, if I was talking to an author, I would say, what
Mm,
book are you working on next, or what ideas are you working on next? What does it
yeah,
look like for you to, I don't know, progress or grow as a tattoo artist? Like, what's the growth plan, or does that even matter to you? Is it one tattoo at a time, or is there like a vision of, I want to get more exclusive, increase my prices, or I don't know. What does it
yeah,
look like for you?
yeah. I'm always bad at this because I am super lazy. I feel like my natural rhythm is to just do what works. I think I have so much vision for what I want to do. Like I just got this new book about Japanese style that I'm really excited about. I've got this book I'm studying like American traditional and the history of tattooing in the Western world,
Hmm.
and I'm really interested in that. So I think like if there's a pathway forward, I think it's looking into more traditional styles that I think like
Hmm.
the longer I do it, the more appreciation I have for the history of it, and
Yeah.
visually I think that's some of the best for me. Some of my favorite tattooing visually is some of the older styles, the more timeless ones. So I would say that. But yeah, I'm a guy that has a hand in a lot of like cookie jars. I'm always of the opinion that art informs art, craft informs craft. So what you're
Hmm.
doing in mechanics will inform your painting. What you're doing in movies or in cinema or in dance will inform your design. I think like everything informs everything. You take
Hmm.
everything with you wherever you go. So like I'm really into mechanics right now. I'm really into like bike mechanics right now. So like
Okay.
I'm getting into tools. So now I'm like thinking about like the mechanical side of tattooing. So I'm thinking about like machines, tattoo machines. It's like how can I get better at understanding the hardware? I
Yeah.
don't know, just
That's cool.
yeah, I think if there's a pathway forward, it's probably, and also just time management is always the big one. Oh man, that was 2 hours I spent watching the new series. It's like, oh man, I could have been like studying, or I could have been practicing. So yeah,
Hmm.
I'm always trying to get better as well, not obsessing over it, but yeah, always trying to get better, always trying to learn more. And you just get better as you go, but sometimes you gotta just kind of stop thinking about it,
Yeah.
and catch yourself in 2 months, and you'll notice that you've gotten over a few things.
Hmm. Yeah, that's really good. Even as I'm writing my dissertation, I'm like reading, 60, 70 sources on like one Bible verse in the Gospels. And
Yeah,
it's
it's
like
crazy.
I don't even know what to think anymore. Like I have all these thoughts, but slowly as you keep reading, you like kind of feel yourself towards a position, right? Like this
Hmm.
kind of intuitively makes the most sense of the
Yeah,
data. Like I imagine that's what you're saying about growth. It's like you just pick away, be faithful day to day, and within a few months, you're like, oh yeah, I have grown. I
yeah,
have changed a little bit. I like that. I've always appreciated that about you. You're a big learner, just always studying, self studying, and just growing. Yeah.
yeah. It's kind of funny because it makes me think about like books I've never read, but like I just read the title and I feel like I got the point. Like, there's some books that like I always think about. Like, I'm thinking of one book in particular. It's like I saw like 10 years ago, A Long Journey in the Same Direction or something.
Oh, Eugene Peterson. Along Obedience.
A
That's
long
it. Along Obedience
I've
in the Same Direction.
never read the book, but like just that title, I was like, it hit. I think about it all the time. I've
Mm,
never read the book, but it's like, yeah, little things that'll inspire me. It's just like you just keep going. It's
yeah.
just keep going. No matter what, don't quit. No matter what, don't quit. Like I think like you just have to keep going. I'm committed for lifetime. Yeah, I don't know. I thought I something else I felt like I just like cereal box quotes and bumper sticker quotes really stick with me, just like random crap you see on a day-to-day basis. For me, like I like think about that stuff, it's like something I saw. Is like I was watching an interview. I don't even remember what it is, dude. Somebody was just like, everything that you're ever going to accomplish in your life, you're doing it right now. Everything all of your dreams that you have about what you're ever going to get out of life is all of it is actively happening right now. So just do it, and if you can just commit to like making that happen, take your time, enjoy the process.
Yeah, it's like John Mayer's got that song, No One's Ever Changed Their Mind by Reading a Sign or Looking at a Sign. But, we found the exception.
I'll completely change the trajectory of my whole life if your bumper sticker is good enough. I mean, dude, I'm sold. I'm all in.
That's funny. If anyone's in Paris and they want to get a tattoo from the one and only Benjamin Finfrock, how would they go about doing that?
Yeah, if you're trying to reach out, you can find me on Instagram. I have an Instagram account. It's called Fin Tat Stick. So fantastic. It's not fantastic. It's fantastic. So yeah, I have an Instagram that I do my DMs and all of my messaging on. It's a love-hate relationship with managing my DMs, but I've slowly gotten better over the years. I'm also on TikTok. So TikTok and Instagram, you can find me and message me.
Very good. Thanks for joining me today, Ben. It's been an absolute joy as always.
Yeah, I hope I did a good job. I had a really fun time. Thanks again.
All right. Talk to you later, man. If this conversation was worth your time, you can follow the podcast on Spotify or Apple Podcasts for more, subscribe on YouTube, and leave a comment below. Tell me who you think I should interview next, what stood out to you from this episode, or what you think we got completely wrong. I can take it. And if one person came to mind while you were listening, maybe a friend, a colleague, maybe someone who would push back on everything that was said, send it to them. That's one of the best ways to help this show. Thanks for listening. I'm Jonathan Tizik. This is Be Spectacled and Curious. See you next time. Stay curious, everybody.